At first glance, the new Cabrinha Moto and the Cabrinha FX might look comparable. They both have 3 struts, and they both offer an alternative to intermediate or advanced riders who are looking to upgrade their quiver and try something a little bit different. All that said, both of these kites have attributes that make them quite different and some distinct advantages and disadvantages on the water. So for those of you that like to read, click that eye icon in the upper right hand corner of your screen, and you can open a new tab with my full comparison of these kites. I'll also include a behind the scenes video log from our trip into the Bahamas where we filmed and tested all the 2019 Cabrinha products. So first up, let's start with the wind range. Now both of these kites are actually fairly on par with each other. They both like to be flown at the higher end. They both aren't the gruntiest kites. And between the two, the Moto is actually going to have a little bit more low end. And the biggest advantage here is for newer riders. The biggest difference here is the Moto is more of a set it and forget it kite, while the FX requires a bit more rider feedback. So they both have a faster turning speed that appeals to advanced riders, yet the Moto is going to have a bit more low end power, making a better choice for riders that want to maximize the wind they can ride in. Bottom line here is that newer riders will enjoy the added benefit of the extra low end of the kite, while intermediate riders are going to enjoy the faster, more playful turning speed of the Moto. And on the other hand, riders who don't mind sacrificing a knot or two for all-out performance might prefer the FX. So next up is jumping. Now between these two kites, the Moto is more of a set it and forget it kite, so it's actually a bit easier to jump and get big air with the Moto, but the FX actually has more potential for big air. And what I mean by this is that with the FX, it requires a bit more rider feedback. So it tends to be more aggressive and powerful. However, with the right tuning and the right timing and skill, you can actually get a very smooth, floaty jump out of the FX. So you know, the big picture here is between these two, the Moto, it's going to be easier for a newer rider to get big air. The FX is going to depend on rider feedback. The Moto is going to perform regardless of rider feedback, yet it will still offer that fast, playful feel for riders who like to actively fly their kite or incorporate kite loop-based transitions or tricks into their riding. So let's talk about the bar pressure and feel. Now both of these kites are on the lighter side depending on the settings that you use, but this is a point that we're likely going to want to test them back to back further to give you a more definitive answer. So if you click the eye icon in the upper right hand corner of your screen, we'll be updating our written blog and review as the season progresses and we actually put more time with these two kites back to back in varying conditions. What I can say with certainty is that both of these kites are quite enjoyable to fly as they are faster and lighter, more playful kites. So let's talk about kite loops. Now the FX is hands down the clear winner in this regard. It was designed with kite loops in mind. It has a kite loop setting on the bridle, and it really is an all-out performance kite. All that said, the Moto does have some advantages as well. It is a lighter, faster kite, and it does loop quite well. It's just not going to be as an explosive or powerful of a loop. However, all that said, not all riders are really looking for all-out performance when it comes to kite loops. Most people on the water really just want to do smooth, fun, kite loop-based tricks. And to that end, the Moto is actually a perfect choice. So what it comes down to here is for the rider that wants the no-holds-barred, all-out, absolute performance, the FX is likely going to be a better candidate. But if you're more of your regular Joe rider, you're not looking to win the next King of the Air and you just want a fun, smooth, easy to fly kite that's going to make doing loop-based tricks more fun and easy, then the Moto is likely going to be the clear winner for you. Next up is surfing and foil boarding. Now the Moto is the clear winner in this category as this kite was designed with these two disciplines in mind. And don't get me wrong, because the FX does work. In fact, our team rider Blake Olson learned to foil and progressed on the foil the last 2 years exclusively on the Cabrinha FX, and he is an absolute savage when it comes to foil boarding. So it's not that the FX will hold you back in this regard, it's just not Cabrinha's best kite when it comes to riding in the waves or going out on a foil. Whereas the Moto, it's going to it's going to perform better in the waves, it's going to work well as a foil kite, and I've mentioned in a few videos now that we really do love the drifter when it comes to a pure foil boarding kite, but for somebody looking for something that's well-rounded and right in the middle, that all-around free ride kite, similar to the Switchblade, but not as heavy or slow, something more playful, that middle ground, the Moto is going to be a much better choice. And it is a solid kite on the waves and a solid kite for foil boarding. This is actually the kite that I learned to foil board on myself. So in summary, I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope it's given you some clarity as to where the Moto stacks up in Cabrinha's lineup. It's basically just Cabrinha's response to the market demand for something different than the Switchblade without tearing that kite apart. And what this comes down to is, in the last few years, many riders have gravitated towards the FX because it has characteristics that they're drawn to. It's faster, it's lighter, it appeals to intermediate or advanced riders, but it's not the best fit for everybody. Not everybody wants to move over to an all-out performance kite that has some trade-offs, and you know, it is, like I said, it is a kite that does require feedback. Whereas the Moto is that faster, lighter, more playful kite that doesn't require the feedback. It's going to be consistent regardless of rider input. So between the two, it just comes down to what you want to get out of your kite. They're both going to be fun. One just takes a little more skill, one's a step closer to the Switchblade, and all in all, we're pretty excited to see this new kite in this new category, and it kind of fills a gap that was missing in the Cabrinha lineup that a lot of you have been asking for. So hey, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe button, and until next time, this has been Rygo, and I will see you next week.